stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ms. Dockett, you captured roll call.
I have captured roll call and we have a quorum. Thank you.
Thank you. And I believe we do have some visitors in our audience who would like to, would you like to be recognized or stand to speak?
Yes.
Hunter?
We can call on Hunter first.
Hello. I just had like 3 quick questions. The development down Buttermilk Pike, right off of Royal Drive. Is there any plans, once that's completed, to add a tank route down that at all?
So as you may remember, we're doing our development study that starts actually next week. We're kicking it off. And that will be one of the things that we look at is as development occurs, is that development something that will warrant tank service? So yes, that's something that we will consider through that process.
Okay, and if not, the intersection of Buttermilk Pike and Royal Drive, pedestrian-wise, that just off Google Map looked like the only real intersection that's hard for, or really difficult for pedestrians. So if not provide a route, at least work with Lakeside Park and Fort Mitchell to make sure that they provide adequate crossings.
So the nearest service that we have right now to that is Dixie Highway.
Right,
That
yeah,
Dixie
that's what I
Highway.
saw. And then, so I did see something about East 4th Street in Covington is constructed, and currently there's not a tank route that goes over it. But since the commute for any walkers will be longer, is there any plans to add a temporary service over the West 11th Street Bridge?
Good question. So we are working with KYTC. They have approached us and asked for information on what that might look like during the 3-year construction period. So we're talking about the 4th Street Bridge project. They know that the 4th Street Bridge will be closed for 3 construction seasons and that there will be an impact on pedestrians and bicyclists in the area. So they are kind of considering all their options at this point. We are working with them to see if there is a tank solution that may work.
Okay.
Very good question.
And then with, I don't know if you have any information on this, the bridge that's there, I believe it's a steel bridge, it's not a concrete bridge. Is there any plans to like use the actual structure and transport it anywhere for a pedestrian bridge?
No, they are demolishing that structure, yeah.
That's all the questions I have for today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
One thing, Hunter, on the pedestrian access at any intersection within any community, one way to go about that is to attend their local council meetings and discuss your concerns there. While we can take note and make recommendations, it's also good to attend those meetings and say there's a concern at this intersection as it relates to pedestrian access. You might get some traction that way as well.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Are there any of our other guests?
Frank Houston has
Yeah,
scheduled-
I'm Frank.
requested to speak. Hi, Frank.
Hi, Frank.
I won't take up too much of your time. I was just wondering, you just talked about adding service to certain places, and that was what I was wondering about as well. I just think it'd be a good idea to put a service going down 17 to the Kroger and Independence. I actually emailed Miss Tussie about it, and she said something about, we're having the, what's it called, but then I saw the meeting, and I was like, well, I'll just chill and see what's up. So do you know of any ideas about adding any kind of service like that going down 17, right, and like, there's an empty parking lot chilling right there. It'd be great for a parking lot. I mean, I don't know that much about this kind of stuff, but, and of course, like, there's acquisition, you gotta pay for that stuff, or I don't know what. But, are there any ideas as far as that goes? It would be great. It's a great community, and, you know, to be able to add service, to have people be able to go all the way up to Cincinnati, would be brilliant. I'd use it at least once a week, probably even daily. I'd have 5 kids too, that I'd love to take up to Cincinnati and not have to take my car. I'm so tired of driving.
So Frank, we had a route that did exactly that.
Okay.
And we discontinued it about a year ago, maybe not even quite a year ago, about 6 months ago.
And went all the way down to Kroger?
I think that one terminated a couple years ago, but then we truncated it even shorter because we just didn't have a ridership out
Yeah.
there.
Is that right?
Yeah.
So there's the one, I know it's like across from this gas station,
Right.
and I know that got taken down, but like, there was one that went all the way, like, all the way down to
We
Kroger?
actually went to the Kroger parking lot. That was a park and ride out there that we would turn around that and head back in.
Do you know how long ago that was?
It's probably been a couple of years. I don't remember exactly.
It may have been 2019, the redesign.
Yeah, it could have been, yeah, time flies.
So, yeah.
I moved in 2018.
Okay, so yeah, it makes sense. We did our redesign right before the COVID pandemic shutdowns happened. We
Okay.
were implementing it. So early 2020, late 2019. And so we go through these periodic planning processes where we look at all of our service and all the ridership and determine where service should be allocated. You know, we have limited resources, so it's like,
course.
where is the bus going to be most utilized? And at that time, Independence was just really not generating a lot of ridership. So we pulled that service back to the parking lot right across from the gas station that you
Mhm.
referred to. And then just earlier this year, I think, we ended that route altogether. So we have service from this facility
Mhm.
downtown. So many people from Independence will drive here and park free and then use the service to go downtown. That being said, we are going through another planning process, so things change over time, right? At that time, there was not a real strong traffic pattern that encouraged ridership. That may have changed, so I think that we're kind of throwing things out there and seeing, as we go through this next development study, you know, where service is warranted. There are, again, limited resources, so we're trying to balance the desires of every community with the needs of every community and with the actual ridership that exists, so.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
So one last thing, I know from 536 is being redeveloped, the spur up from 536 to Turkey Foot Road. Since that won't be as bottlenecked and there's probably more people along that route, that might be something to look into as well.
Thank you.
All right, moving on, we have the approval of minutes for our June 11th, 2025 meeting. I need a motion for approval of the.
Second.
Call for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Excellent. Motion passes. Thank you. So for this past month, our committees did not meet, but we do have reports for both finance and administration. First up would be our May fiscal year 25 financial statements and a review of month 11 of our fiscal year 25 financial statements. And Gina, can you give that review, please?
Sutton isn't able to be here tonight, so I will provide that update. The financial statements for May are in your board packets on page 5. The overall ridership for May increased about 0.5%, so we're kind of holding stable. As you can see, express routes increase, local routes increase, and South Bank Shuttle is still seeing pretty large decreases. We are attributing that again to the fact that we doubled the fare on the South Bank Shuttle, and we curtailed some of the service in downtown Cincinnati to stay along the riverfront. So that route is going to see some fluctuation and probably continue to see some decreased ridership. We know that a lot of the people that used to use the South Bank Shuttle for the $1 fare are now using other routes because all the routes have the same fare now. So there's really no preference other than the frequency on the shuttle that would push people to use that if they have an option to use another route as well. On the revenue side, we are seeing slightly less revenue than budget for May. However, we also operated about $232,000 less than budget. So year to date, we are running quite a bit under budget as expected. And it's really nothing of note. Medical expenses continue to be below average. Financial position is really good. We have 1 month left in the fiscal year to report, so we will have that end of fiscal year report next month. If there are any questions specifically on the department side, I'm happy to answer them now.
All right. Next, we have an action item related to Tank's asset disposition memo, which is found on page 15 of your packet. And this will be presented by Bill Hawk.
Thank you. So the memo in your packet, I'm gonna do this a little different. This really probably should have been 2 actions, so we're gonna split this up a little bit. Bear with me. But the first part of this, we've been conducting a review of our asset inventory and identified items that have either been replaced, exceeded their useful life, no longer functional or obsolete, and no longer in use by the authority. Based on that assessment, staff's requesting the board to approve them to be surplus property. Items still in our possession will be disposed of either through online auction, advertised sealed bid, or recycled as scrap metal. Those items are included in Appendix A, which is pages 16 to 19 in your packet. There will be notes included in that appendix about why they are on there if it's not obvious. Many of them have already been replaced. Many of them are very, very old and missing, gone, whatever. So this is really, again, just a move to clean up the inventory and dispose of the equipment that we do have that's left in the rafters. Any questions about that? Do you want me to go on and do part 2, or do you want to do it 2 separate things?
I'd be happy to go ahead and make a motion for part 1 if
I'll second.
the chair wishes. I'll make a motion that we dispose of the property identified per Bill Hawk's memo dated 6/30/25 and Appendix A attached thereto.
And a second by Lisa. Any further discussion? Questions? All right.
All right, so thank you. Part 2.
We need to vote.
Oh, I'm sorry.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the motion to dispose of that equipment, the surplus property, is approved.
You have to admire my confidence level that was going to get done. All right, so Appendix B, Part 2 of this is also a review and identification of items that no longer qualify as capital assets. These are items that are fully depreciated and were purchased initially for under $5,000, which is consistent with current FTA and auditor guidelines. So attached Appendix B lists these items that staff is requesting the board to declare as fully depreciated and simply removed from the list. These are pages 20 to 23. There is a note, items on here with a note to the right are included on both lists. So I guess technically you already approved those.
All right, well, for the sake of making it official, we'll bring a motion forward to vote on the fully depreciated and removal of those items from the list. Do I have that? And a second? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion stands.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm not going anywhere.
You're not going?
I don't think
Okay.
so.
All right, so our next action items pertain to two tank policy and procedure items, which Bill will also introduce and walk through for us.
Let
So-
me introduce, can I introduce this really quickly before you start?
Sure.
So in the same vein, we're doing some cleanup and we have a list of about 50 policies that over time, and some of them haven't been updated since the early 90s. Over time, they have been either made obsolete or they are really more of a procedure than a policy. And so over time, they have changed, but we haven't actually taken action at the board to change them. Or they are policies that really shouldn't even be policies, they're procedures or like an HR handbook type of issue. So we are starting the process of going through these and updating them if they need to be updated, updating a procedure if it needs to be updated, and then adapting the policy to match that. Taking things out as policies and putting them into the handbook if that's a more appropriate thing to do, or just eliminating the policy altogether if it's no longer relevant. So this is the first step. We have two policies that we are updating, but you'll continue to see this. We're kind of tackling it over a long period of time so that, because it's time consuming to go in and update policies. So,
I
yeah,
really don't
take it
have a
away,
lot to
Bill.
add to that, but so these first two policies that you see, we'll start with the hazard communication policy. So we recently had a voluntary OSHA inspection of the facility, and out of that came a review of some of our policies, and it was determined that although we had policies that said that we would do things that did not describe how we do them. So we had to update those policies. So as part of that, the policy has now been amended to just include the first three steps, which is the policy that OSHA and Kentucky OSHA require that we do these things. And then it refers to a separate program, which is also attached, that outlines how we do it. So to Gina's point, staff will, as needed, modify the program, but the policy is there for the board to approve.
All right, so that policy is on page 24 of your packet. And again, this policy is to ensure that tank employees, well, not again, but just so the public knows, this policy specifically is to ensure that tank employees are informed about any hazardous materials they may be exposed to in a workplace. And then the second policy that we'll be looking at here in a moment is the policy update for the exposure control program for bloodborne pathogens, which is on page 29 of your packet. So for this first action, we need a motion to approve the hazard communications policy update effective July 10th, 2025.
So,
Second? Brian? All in favor?
Aye.
Madam Chair, I would add that I have reviewed both of these policies and satisfied from the legal standpoint.
Thank you, Mr. Duncan. All right, the motion is approved. Thank you.
That was hazardous communication.
Hazardous communication is approved. So moving to the next.
And the next one is really the same story, our bloodborne pathogen policy, which is, again, a Kentucky OSHA and OSHA policy to ensure that employees are safe from the exposure to bloodborne pathogens in the facility and on the vehicles.
So, any other notes that we need to know there?
It's very similar to the first one.
Okay. So may I have a motion to approve the bloodborne pathogen policy update, also effective July 10th, 2025?
So moved.
Second?
second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Excellent.
Thank
Motion
you.
passes. Thank you, Bill. Next, we have the general manager's report provided by Ms. Delphin.
Thank you. I just have a couple of things. As I mentioned earlier, our planning study will be kicking off next week. All the contract terms have been agreed upon, and we will begin the work at our kickoff meeting next week. So that is step one to a lengthy process to determine what Tank will look like for the next 5 to 8 years, and even into the future. We will be inviting all of you to be very active in that process. I think it goes without saying that the board needs to kind of be along with us every step of the way. So we'll be looking for ways to ensure that you're part of that in a very meaningful way. Just an FYI, we will be providing KSO concert shuttles. It's Kentucky Symphony Orchestra concert shuttles for the Dubuque Park concerts. It's 3 Saturdays, one in July, one in August, and one in September. The first one is this weekend. So we do that every year. People park at Covington Catholic. There's not really parking in Dubuque Park for people. So it's one of those community partnership things that we do. And the final update is that I participated in an interview on Monday on WVXU. Their program, Cincinnati Edition, which is Lucy May's program that runs at noon every day. And we had the full hour for public transit, and it was myself, a representative from Metro, and a representative from the Better Bus Coalition, and it was very good. I think that we covered a lot of ground and had some really great questions from the public, and it was good. So if you have a chance, I'll send the link out. You can listen to that as you're trying to fall asleep. Very exciting stuff.
Gina, question. Just because our link may be here or people on TV watching and so forth, what time is the bus is going to start at Covington?
They start at 6 o'clock. I think they run from 6 to 7:30.
6 to 7:30,
Yeah.
yeah, just didn't-
The concerts start at 7:30 p.m. and the buses run from 6 to 7:30,
And they come back when?
right after the concert.
Okay.
Yeah, we don't mess around. The police like to get our people out first, so it's actually really nice. We are the first people to leave.
Nice. Thank you for providing that service. All right, moving on. Is there any old business? All right, and we do have some new business to discuss this evening, and that's the election of Tank's officers for fiscal year '26. And I'll turn it over to Mr. Duncan to lead that discussion.
Thank you, Madam Chair. As I reported last month, we do have elections for tonight, mandated both by the statute and our bylaws. You are eligible for re-election if you wish to become a candidate, and we call for nominations.
Awesome. Thank you. I would agree with the nomination.
All right, any other nominations?
We also need a nomination for vice chair.
Well, let's do the chair first.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
No,
So all in favor of Gina continuing for another year, a sentence for one more year?
It's an honor for one more year.
Aye.
All in
Aye.
favor, aye, any opposed? Okay.
and I would nominate Ed Keeney to serve as vice chair.
Second.
Yes.
Any other nominations? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, congratulations to both of you.
Thank you. All right, continuing with Mr. Duncan, do we have a general counsel's report?
Just to follow up from last meeting, you all approved the drug and alcohol policy subject to my review, and I did that. Had some conversation with Gina and Renee, and I agree. No problem with it.
Excellent.
That's all I have.
Thank you. It's a rather short meeting this evening. May I have a motion to adjourn? Second?
Second.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Our meeting is now adjourned. Thank you all.